Okay, boys and girls, this is Dr. Carbles is Losing His Marbles, Chapter 10, The Torture Room. When I got to Dr. Carbles' office, he told me to sit in the chair next to his desk. Then he stared at me. He looked really mad. Are you going to be frank? I asked. He didn't say anything. He pulled down the shades to make the room dark. Then he turned on his desk lamp and pointed the light on me. Who told you I wear a toupee, AJ? Asked Dr. Carbles. Huh? Who told you? I was pretty sure I had the right to remain silent. I saw that on a TV show once. Besides, I was too scared to say anything. The teachers are plotting against me, aren't they? Dr. Carbles said. I don't trust them. I see the way they look at me. They hate me. Everybody hates me. I kept my mouth shut. If you don't say anything, you can't say anything dumb. Did Mr. Dockett tell you about my toupee? Asked Dr. Carbles. Or was it Miss Lazar? You can tell me, AJ. His face was right next to mine. His breath smelled like rotten eggs. I was shaking. I thought I was going to die. Cat got your tongue, eh? Dr. Carbles asked. Well, I have ways to make you talk. Oh no, he was going to torture me. Here, I want you to read this, said Dr. Carbles. What is it? I asked. A book. A book? I exclaimed. With words? That's right, Dr. Carbles said. Read it. Reading is boring, I told him. Read it, he shouted. Every word, cover to cover. Let's go. I don't have all day. Sweat was rolling down my face. No, no, I cried. Not reading. Anything but that. Okay, I'll talk. Smart boy, Dr. Carbles said, taking the book away. I knew you'd see it my way. It was Mr. Klutz, I admitted. I went over to his house. He told me about your toupee. He told me about the skateboarding team. He told me he called you Walrus Face. He told me everything. Klutz, eh? Sneered Dr. Carbles. Klutz told you that. Oh, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him good. Nobody calls me Walrus Face and gets away with it. Please don't tell Mr. Klutz I told you. I promised him I wouldn't tell. Please, Frank. Get out of here, Dr. Carbles hollered. And stop calling me Frank, or I'll get the summer reading list. I ran out of his office as fast as I could. Chapter 11, The Big Skate-Off. When I got to school the next morning, I could hear the sound of hammering. It was coming from the gym. That was weird. I went over to the gym and opened the door. You'll never believe in 1,100,000 years what I saw. 5 guys in overalls were building a half pipe right there in the gym. Wow. We were going to have skateboarding in phys ed. The phys ed teacher, Mrs. Small, is off the wall. She usually has us juggle scarves and balance feathers on our fingers. But we were finally going to do something cool. We were going to have a skateboard. It was the greatest day of my life. Me and the guys were so excited we could hardly stand it. When do we get to go to phys ed? We kept asking Miss Daisy. I don't know, said Miss Daisy, who doesn't know anything. Finally, at the end of the day, Miss Patty made an announcement over the loudspeaker. She said that everybody had to report to the gym. Hooray! All the boys yelled. Miss Daisy had to keep yelling at telling us to stop running the whole way there. When we got there, the half pipe was finished, and Dr. Carbles was standing in front of it. He was holding a skateboard. Where's Miss Small? I asked. Are we going to skateboard in phys ed? No! Shouted Dr. Carbles. This half pipe isn't for you, it's for me. Boo! Yelled all the boys. We were really mad as we sat down on the bleachers. But we didn't stay mad for long because you'll never believe who walked into the gym walked in the door at the other end of the gym? Nobody. If you walked into a door, it would hurt. But guess who walked into the doorway? It was Mr. Klutz. He was holding a skateboard. Everybody cheered. "Hooray for Mr. Klutz!" we all shouted. Dr. Carble and Mr. Klutz stood facing each other at opposite sides of the gym. They looked like two gunslingers on one of those old Western TV shows, except they had skateboards instead of guns. Everybody got quiet. You could hear a pin drop. "So we meet again, Klutz," said Dr. Carbles. "I thought you'd be too chicken to show up." "I will outskate you anytime," Mr. Klutz said. "You're going down, Walrus Face." "Oh, snap," Ryan whispered. "Mr. Klutz is going to blow the doors off Mr. Carbles," I told the guys. Mr. Klutz and Dr. Carbles climbed up to the top of the half pipe. Dr. Carbles picked up his bullhorn. "Finally, all around the world will know who the best skateboarder is," he hollered. "Ha ha ha ha! Revenge will be sweet." We all started chanting, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Klutz, Klutz, Klutz. Dr. Carble and Mr. Klutz dropped into the half pipe at the same time. Dr. Carbles did a vert bomb drop. Dr. Klutz did a combination inward heel flip outside board slide. Dr. Carbles did a pole jam. Mr. Klutz did a boomerang. It was awesome. Everybody in the gym was yelling and screaming their heads off, even the teachers. Then, just as Dr. Carbles was doing a monkey flip jawbreaker, Dr. Klutz did a stale fish McTwist. They crashed into each other in midair. Dr. Carbles' toupee went flying off his head. The two of them landed together in a tangle of arms and legs. It was a real Kodak moment, and we got to see it live and in person. "Oh, my leg," moaned Dr. Carbles. "Ouch, my head," moaned Dr. Klutz. The two of them were laying at the bottom of the half pipe, freaking out. Miss Cooney, the beautiful school nurse, came running over with a first aid kit. And you'll never believe in a million hundred years who walked into the gym at that exact moment. I'm not going to tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. It was Miss Haney, the superintendent of all the schools in the county. "Carbles," she shouted, "what's the meaning of this?" Dr. Carbles looked at Mr. Klutz. Mr. Klutz looked at Miss Haney. Miss Haney looked at Dr. Carbles. Everybody was looking at each other. "It's a half pipe, ma'am," Dr. Carbles said. "I challenge Klutz to a little competition." "You were hired to bring order and discipline to this school," Miss Haney yelled. "I didn't bring you here so that you could build a half poop and ride a skateboard," said Dr. Carbles. "Carbles!" shouted Miss Haney. "You're fired!" Dr. Carbles limped out of the gym, sobbing. What a crybaby. Chapter 12. You can rent anything. "Watch out!" somebody screamed. It was the day before Thanksgiving. Some crazy lunatic dressed like a pilgrim was tearing down the sidewalk on a skateboard. He must have built up too much speed. The guy was weaving around kids, totally out of control. "Run for your lives!" somebody shouted. The skateboard must have hit a crack in the sidewalk because the next thing anybody knew, the pilgrim went flying through the air like a superhero. Kids were diving out of the way. Dogs were running as fast as they could. The skateboarding pilgrim crash-landed in the bushes in front of the school. You'll never believe in a million hundred years who it was. It was Mr. Klutz. "Good morning, Mr. Klutz," said Miss Cooney as she walked past. "Good morning, Miss Cooney," he replied. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" "Lovely." Mr. Klutz got up, brushed himself off, and walked up the front steps like it was totally normal to skateboard to school, dressed as a pilgrim, and crash headfirst into the bushes. Everybody clapped and cheered when we realized Mr. Klutz had been hired to be principal again. No more marching, no more uniforms, no more Dr. Carbles. It was the best day in the history of the world. In the afternoon, we were called down to the all-purpose room for an assembly. Mr. Klutz went up on stage and everybody gave him a standing ovation. Well, I have good news and bad news, Mr. Klutz told us. The bad news is that even though all of you made beautiful Thanksgiving displays, I can't marry a turkey like I promised. What happened to Gobbles? Emily asked. I'm having her for dinner tomorrow, Mr. Klutz said. What's the good news? I shouted. You'll see. Mr. Klutz went behind the curtain. You'll never believe in 1,100,000 years what he brought out with him. A live pig. I'm going to marry this pig instead, he told us. Everybody started cheering and stomping their feet. Where did you get a pig? Yelled Ryan. From Rent-A-Pig, Mr. Klutz said. You can rent anything, you know. Miss Rupee came out on stage with a book. She was wearing a man's suit and tie. It's Miss Rupee, everybody yelled. I'm not Miss Rupee, said Miss Rupee. I'm the Justice of the Peace, Mr. Klutz. Do you take this pig to be your wife, to love, honor, and cherish until death do you part? I do, said Mr. Klutz. Pig, do you take Mr. Klutz to be your husband in sickness and in health till death do you part? Oink, said the pig. This is so romantic, Andrea whispered. I now pronounce you man and wife, said Miss Rupee. Mr. Klutz, you may kiss the pig. Mr. Klutz bent down and kissed the pig right on his lips. Ew, disgusting. That was the second time I saw Mr. Klutz kiss a pig. He must really love pigs. After the assembly, we went back to Miss Daisy's class to get ready for dismissal. She wished us a happy Thanksgiving and made us go around a circle to say what we were thankful for. I'm thankful that Mr. Klutz is back, said Andrea. I'm thankful that Mr. Carbles is gone, said Michael. It's then the 3 o'clock bell rang. What are you thankful for, AJ? Asked Miss Daisy. I'm thankful that we don't have school for 4 more days, I said. Then I ran out of there. Maybe Dr. Carbles will take a chill pill and get his job back. Maybe he'll be allowed to keep the half pipe and go skateboarding in phys ed. Maybe Mr. Klutz and the pig will go on a honeymoon and live happily ever after. Maybe Mr. and Miss Klutz will get divorced before Mr. Klutz is always kissing pigs and marrying them. Maybe hair will stop growing out of Mr. Klutz's nose and back on top of his head, where it belongs. Maybe my weird school will become more like a normal school. But it won't be easy.